All right, problem number 10. Sorry, problem number 11. 11. The cost Y in dollars to provide food for guests at a dinner party is proportional to the number X of guests attending the party. All right, so X is our guests. Oof, sorry, my laptop's moving all over the place here. Y is the money it's going to cost. And a key word here is it says it's proportional. That's huge. All right, so to figure out our equation, first off, proportional means it's going to be one of these. Y equals M times X. All proportional equations look like this, where M is not just any old number, it's the slope. So now we have to figure out the slope. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to record my information. Now, one is that proportional equations always include the point 0, 0. Okay, for things to be proportional, however, X starts off with 0, Y also starts off with 0. In class, I've used that analogy several times. My kids splitting up Halloween candy. It will only be proportional if they both start off with 0 pieces of candy. If one started off with a head start, it's no longer proportional. Now, another piece, though, we can add is this. It says it costs $30, and Y was the money. So $30 for Y for 4 guests, where X was the guess. So that gives me another bit of information there. And that's enough information to get the slope. That here on the X side, where we find the run jump, that's +4. And on this side, the rise side, that's a jump of 30. So what we get is a slope of rise 30, run 4. And you can show this both ways. I probably had it on a certain way on the answer key, but you could either reduce this down to 15 over 2, or as a decimal, 7.5. Okay, either way, though, that would go in right here. So we would get Y equals 7.5x. That's one option for part A, or Y equals 15 over 2x. All right, so those are your equations for part A. You might want to copy that down because I need to erase my screen. All right, for part B, we have those same two equations, Y equals 7.5x or Y equals 15 over 2x, and says interpret the slope. Okay, once again, what interpret means is what are these numbers representing in the real world? So if I did this one, turns out what it would be, 7.5 over 1, is that the real world context means that we figured out that it's $7.50 for one guest. So every time we add on a guest to the list, $7.50 more to supply the party with food. Okay. If you didn't write it that way, though, and you wrote your slope as 15 over 2, same idea. We could say that the interpretation of the slope is that it's $15 every 2 guests, which, if you think about it, that says the same thing as this does. Okay, so that's our interpretation. All right, so now that we've got our equations, let's use them to do part C. How much does it cost to provide food for 10 guests? Well, we can use either one of these and just plug in the 10. So I can either erase X here and swap in the input of 10, in which case 7.5 times 10 would be $75. Or I could do it with this equation. Swap the 10 in here. Okay. 15 times 10, that's 150. 150 divided by 2, that's still $75. So for 10 guests, it would be $75. All right, so that's number 11.